Don't be stupid, boys. Turn off Clyde, support your side.
I would like to leave this city. This old town don't smell too pretty, and I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. And when I leave this island, I book myself into a soul asylum, 'cause I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. So here I go, still scratching around in the same old hole. My body feels young, but my mind is very old. So what do you say? You can't give me the dreams that are mine anyway.
Successful spells at so many clubs down south, but no period up here in Scotland. So what do you think of Scotland when you're up here?
It was very, very close to going to Celtic at one stage when Sir Bobby Robson was manager of Newcastle. I'd spoke to the manager at the time, and Martin O'Neill. It just fell down at the last hurdle, so it wasn't to be. But it could have been one day.
How much would you have enjoyed it, do you think?
I'm sure I would have. Yeah, it's they're Rangers and Celtic. No one needs to say anything about them. They are what they are. They're huge football clubs. It's a shame that they can't be in the Premier League, because I think their grounds, their status, their fans would do it proud, and they'd be even bigger if that was possible. But I'm sure I would have enjoyed it up here too.
It's a word we hear often these days. And to keep the word pure, it's a concept we must embrace. Green means respect for nature, protecting the environment, conserving life. It's natural, pure, perfect. It's no wonder then that Heineken Premium Beer is always bottled in green. Brewed with passion, it could only be Heineken.
Enjoy Heineken responsibly.
Good day, good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. You're listening to the Half the World Away Celtic podcast from HailHailMedia. My name's Kevin O'Neill, and I'm based in Mandurah in Western Australia, originally from Coatbridge. And over the other side of this glorious continent of Australia, in Melbourne, Victoria, is my good friend and Airdrieonian, Mr. Patrick Close. Good day, Pat.
Airdrieonian, very good. Good
Well,
day,
yeah,
actually, on that subject, I presume Airdrie United have now changed over to Airdrieonians, have they? There was all this reference during the week when they were playing the Monkeys, or last week anyway, about Airdrieonians. But anyway, how are you, Kevin?
We might talk about that later, because they were never allowed to keep their name. They had to change it, didn't they?
But I think I've got a feeling they changed it back again. So the whole thing of you're not allowed to change the name, and then all right then.
Well, we'll need to start looking at that.
Maybe it's because Serco changed their name, but anyway, they'll just. Anyway, another story another day.
We'll get onto that later. But anyway, we have a new guest on the show this evening as well. And he's all the way up. He's in Western Australia, but he's all the way up at Karratha in Western Australia. Look it up on the map if you've never heard of it before. But I've been trying to get him on this podcast for many's a long day, but he usually goes out with his missus on a Friday night. But I'm glad to say he's joined us from the start of the show tonight. My good friend and fellow Mandurian, Mr. Denis Doherty. Good day, Denis.
Hello, Kevin.
How are you, mate?
I'm doing very well. I'm just at the end of my swing, and I'm ready to head back down to Manchester tomorrow morning. So always good to be at the end of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You'll maybe need to explain to certain people what a swing actually is, Dennis, because they might get the wrong impression in this show. That's very it's very common terminology in Western Australia, where there's a lot of fly-in, fly-outers and across Australia, but they might think you're up to something else back home.
Oh well, the swings up here are. This one has only been 2 weeks, so it's been fairly gentle. The ones that are coming up in the next few weeks are going to be a little bit more, 4 and 5 weeks. So no, we do. The way I work up here, fly in, fly out, we do sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes a week, maybe 6 weeks, and then have a bit of time off. So that's basically what that kind of swing is. Not
the other kind.
I'll chip in with what Kevin said. There's quite a lot of it going on in town here.
So there's a lot of swinging going on there, Dennis. That's good, excellent, good stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And not of the golf variety either, I bet you.
No, definitely not. No.
So, Dennis, what I usually do when there's somebody when there's somebody new onto the show, I just like to maybe get themselves to say a little bit about yourself and stuff. So, what's your background? You're obviously not a native Aussie with that accent, Dennis. So, tell us a bit about yourself and how long you've been in Oz.
Yeah. Well, obviously from Clydebank. Grew up in Clydebank. Headed up to Celtic Park. Usually my dad, as a youngster, I was pretty lucky to be a child of the 60s. So I saw some very good Celtic teams through the 60s and 70s. On into the 80s, 90s when things weren't so good. And unfortunately I missed most of the Martin O'Neill years when I decided to come out here in 1998. So I've been out in Australia for 16 years and pretty well settled with the family now, and pretty well used to good weather. So
absolutely.
Over here, I've pretty well kept solid with Celtic TV and Channel 67 and whatever other way I could get my Celtic news. So news now has been a big boon for it as well, but I think I've explained to Kevin in the past how things used to be done, where we would trip up to the Irish club to listen to a game. So it was like almost a 170k round trip just to listen to games. So the advent of like the internet and everything else has made it significantly better. You know,
and
so
the advent of the internet,
still enjoying it. Yeah.
The advent of the internet in Western Australia was in 2012, wasn't it?
Something like that.
It seemed like it.
Sometimes you feel as if it's just catching up.
I should point out to people who are listening that Dennis is on a 3G connection, I think, up there. So if it does sound a bit flaky, then that's the reason. But we'll keep them on board as long as we possibly can, because
absolutely,
as
we know, it's with any sort of mobile phone company, you're going to have good and bad times. So anyway, Dennis, glad to have you with us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Even though you're Clydebank. Sure.
No, you're welcome to the show, Dennis. It's good to have you on at long last. Well, I guess as I usually say, that if you are listening in live, you unfortunate people, you're more than welcome to get in touch with us during the show tonight. The best way to do that is probably through good old Twitter. You can send your tweets to @halftheworld88. So if you've got any questions or any comments or anything you'd like to bring up at all during the live show, feel free to get in touch and we'll do our best to get across them and answer your questions. If you do happen to want to join the conversation, join the chat, you can Skype us in as well. The Skype name is, again, it's HailHailMedia. So if you want to come onto the show and join Dennis, Pat and myself, you're more than welcome. Always bear in mind, though, that once there's about 4 of us on, it can sometimes play a bit of havoc with the technology. So if we get up to that, we might need to drop somebody out or something, but we'll see how we go anyway. But there's also the Spreaker chat room as well. If you're listening live, you're more than welcome to post a few comments in there. And Pat always has his eye on that as well. So
there's a few boys already have. So I have to say it's still the best Celtic Supporters Club name in the world. The Myrtle Beach Ballbag CSC are ready. They're in there. Toby Jugg's in there. He's one of our regular listeners, and the Bold Craigie boy is ready. So he's saying that he's able to listen for the first time in a while. So hello, sir.
Oh. Well, if he's able to listen, I wonder will we get a call from Craig? Because Craig used to call in many moons ago, but
I made the offer. So I made the offer.
Well, that's all good. It's all good. Well, anyway, that's us, guys. That's us set up. We'll start off by just a little reference to the intro that we had earlier on.
Sorry, I have to correct myself there. I might have said the Myrtle Beach Ball Bag. It's the Ball Deep CSE.
Aye, Ball Deep. It's not Ball Bag. You get ball bags on the mind constantly, Pat. You're filthy wretch.
Dear, oh dear.
Anyway, well corrected. The little intro that Pat again pulled together for us at the start of the show there. You heard Mr. Alan Shearer being interviewed on what I believe it was Super Scoreboard during the week there, and I think he was in Scotland doing some promotional stuff for John Hartson, and he was interviewed, of course, and it came up in the topic of conversation that he could have possibly signed for Celtic during the Martin O'Neill era. But then the little segue went nicely into a bunch of Celtic fans singing the Alan Shearer. We went for Shearer, but he's a W. I wouldn't say the word. So who knows? It could have been, it could not have been. There was a lot of urban myths going around at the time. And I think when that song came out at the time that we went for Shearer, but he's a W. But I was never so sure we actually went for him. But the man himself is saying that if things worked out slightly differently, he could have become a Celtic player. I did notice that when he was asked if he could have signed for one of the clubs, he did happen to put the R word first of all before he mentioned Celtic. He could have signed for that old dead team or Celtic. But anyway, would we have fancied Alan Shearer? Dennis, I'll ask you first. Would you ever fancied Alan Shearer at the time?
As a player, I probably would, but after the Neil Lennon incident, I don't think he would have been too welcome in the squad, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the incident down at Leicester when I think he kicked Neil Lennon in the head, and then that was going to have repercussions for him in the World Cup. I think a lot of people lost respect for him, especially Celtic people.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
there's no doubt he was an outstanding striker, right enough. Pat, would you have liked to have seen somebody like Alan Shearer in the hoops?
Certainly would. The old SAS wouldn't have been sitting in Shearer.
Yeah,
at Celtic Park. I wouldn't have a problem with that. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously issues about his so-called character and stuff like that. But like I don't really mind him that much. And like players do stupid things, you know. John Hartson kicked flipping Eyal Berkovic, same thing, you know.
Sorry.
You're going to judge him on that sort of same sort of incident. So I don't know. I mean, absolutely, if I would have taken him, I'm not sure how we could have afforded him, but and he's peak and stuff like that, then surely you would have taken him. But I'm just, even back then, I'm just not sure we could have, afford to pay the wages. But just imagine if we did go to the former dead club, what would the size of that side contract have been? Jesus.
Oh yeah.
I think the bizarre thing,
allegedly,
yeah, of course. The bizarre thing with that whole Alan Shearer piece there was, and okay, I know we put it onto the intro there, but I think it's because we were struggling for any other news this week out of Celtic. But it seemed to be that it was a bit of a throwaway comment and part of an interview, but it seemed to make quite big news back home. I definitely saw somebody had a post. It was the back page of one of the papers, whether it was the Record or the Sun, I don't know what it was, but it was either on Twitter or Facebook. I'd seen it, but it basically had Shearer's head photoshopped onto, I'm presuming it must have been Henrik or somebody, with Sutton celebrating a goal, and it was, making a big story out of just a throwaway little comment about it. Was all ifs and buts, it was all ifs and buts, but again, it still seemed to be big news back home, which is quite frightening, and I guess it just goes to show that there's not a lot of news going on back there just now, if that can make the back pages.
Well, there's not a lot of news for us, but there's a lot of news for other things going on at the moment, but which we may well come on to a bit later. But yeah, I think for Celtic, in terms of the past week, it's been a fairly quiet and fairly uneventful week. But so yeah, we've got a few things we can sort of chat about tonight. So it's okay. We can rattle on. Maybe have a wee laugh at Sevco a bit later, but we'll see how we go.
See how we go, but we'll start briefly talking about the Kelly game now. I know you saw it, Pat. Did you catch it, Dennis? I know you were obviously possibly working up there anyway at the time, but did you catch any of the Kelly game at all?
I didn't catch any of the live game, Kevin. I watched the goals the next day. I read quite a few match reports, and I think for me one of the big positives of it was Liam Henderson's first start.
Yes, that's right.
By all accounts, he had a fairly quiet first half, but really came into his own in the second half. And I think personally, he's a guy I've been hoping would get a run for some time. And now that he has got his run, and he's done very well. I hope that we see a good bit more of him before the end of the season.
Fingers crossed, because he definitely looks promising. I mean, Pat, in terms of the game itself, it was one of those ones. I was going to say there's nothing really to play for in the league. We've still got the league to win, and we want to win every game between now and the end of the season. So when you see it at face value, it's another away game. It's down at Kelly. We do have a great record down there, but every game's a potential banana skin to start off with. But it was quite a uneventful first half, and certainly it was honours even at the end of the first half, 0-0 at half time. You're maybe getting a little bit worried, is this going to fizzle out into something? But we ended up quite comfortable in the end. How did you see it or view the game?
It was the old cliche, isn't it? Game of two halves. There's nothing more than that. It was whatever sort of chat Lennon had with them in the half time. Certainly sort of kicked him into gear, I suppose. But like the first goal, the goal came sort of early-ish in the second half as well, and I think I just settled things down. After that, it was Kilmarnock, I think they just knew they were up against it. And after the second goal, they scored the second a minute or two later, wasn't it? Or was it a minute later?
It was just a couple of minutes later on, something. Yep.
So once the second goal, 2 goals in 2 minutes, you say it was, and it was pretty much game over, for Kilmarnock, because they hadn't really threatened, Chris Boyd. I mean, Jesus, seriously, he was mince. He was absolutely mince. But there was no real. I mean, they had a couple of little sort of half chances, I guess, but it was nothing. There was nothing really concrete. I think it was more the one. Remember Matthews? I think in the first half, actually there was 2. I think. Effie Ambrose missed it, and then it went back to Matthews at the back post, and he to use the old term, he sclaffed it, Kev.
I'm going to defend Effie here though, because it was Mulgrew that made an arse of it at the near post part.
Right, you're right, it was.
It came across, and Matthews made a bit of a mess of it as well, and it was Effie that swept it up at the back, thankfully. But a little bit embarrassing. I think it goes to highlight as well that. We miss Big Virgil for his level head at those kind of situations, and he has built up since such a consistent partnership with Effie as well, that any little changes at the back can upset things sometimes.
Do you think maybe that?
What
did you think of Mulgrew though? It's putting in a job at sort of centre half. Would you?
I like Charlie, but I do think he's definitely your stereotypical utility player. Now he's not the best centre half I've ever seen in the world, far from it. But I always think Charlie can play that position, as he can play as a left back, as he can play as a left midfielder. And he can go forward as well. So I do like him. I think it was just he misjudged it. I would let him off with it. If he was doing that once or twice in every single game, I wouldn't be so happy. But I think overall, Mulgrew's he's been a good player for us since his return.
So what about potential then of he and Van Dijk forming a bit of a partnership? Has that got potential, you reckon?
Well, I'd still prefer to see Effie and Virgil, because I honestly believe they have worked up a really good partnership together. I just think there's a really good balance between the two of them, and they're both both footballing centre halves as well, and they bring out the best in each other. I think if Charlie was coming into that equation, it upset the apple cart a little bit. I think Effie and Virgil get on really well off the park as well, from what I've read. So I think these things all help as well. So I wouldn't hesitate. I think if Effie was out and Big Virgil was available, I think you're right, that would be the partnership as well. But I think the first choice partnership would be Effie and Virgil. What's your thoughts on that, Dennis?
Yeah, look, I probably think Effie and Virgil are the best two at the moment. I think if Charlie was in there, I wouldn't have any dramas with it at all, Kevin. But sometimes Effie's maybe a little bit more cavalier than Charlie would ever be. Some of the things he does at the back at times, your heart's in your mouth, yeah. And some of those runs he makes from the back, there's no one else in the team who actually does that. Comes out of defence.
Well, apart from Virgil.
Yeah. Well, Charlie's more likely to play a decent pass somewhere, but he wouldn't charge up the park like that. But I would have no hesitation about putting him in. I'm a big Charlie Mulgrew fan. I love when a guy comes through from the reserves or whatever, and okay, Charlie had to go away and kind of do his apprenticeship elsewhere, but he's never let us down anywhere he plays. No, I think we've got a fairly solid back line at the moment for Scotland. As we've seen this year, it can get exposed at a higher level. That's the issue we've got.
Yeah. So what's our take on Liam Henderson then? Is it just gone a bit too far? Are we getting the old Liam Miller scenario? Is it are people getting carried away with his performance, or is he really the real deal for a young lad?
I'll let you comment on that one first, Dennis.
Yeah. Look, I think with the young guys, I've always thought you need to give them about 10 games or minimum 5. If they're doing well after that, keep them going. But I still think you need to give a guy at least 5 games to see what he's got. It's easy when you come in and other players don't know your tricks. You can catch them out a little bit, but once people get to grips with you and get to know who you are, that becomes a little bit more difficult. But by all accounts, reading the under-20s and different things, the reports on those games, he's been playing really, really well in the games he's played in. I think he came on at Motherwell when we beat them 5-0, and he done okay in the short time he was on. But by all accounts, he was a little bit nervy last week, as you would be in the first half. But by the reports I read in the second half, he was very controlled and played the ball around very well.
He did. He looked he looked comfortable. And I'll be honest, guys. I missed the majority of the first half because it was on early in the morning over here. But I did catch the whole of the second half. So I thought I was quite impressed with him. I wouldn't say. I must admit, I haven't seen too many people getting too hyped up about him, so I wouldn't say anybody's getting carried away with the whole thing. But I would agree, given that we've won the league at a canter, it's only a matter of time before we do it officially. I think it was nice to see that Lennon is putting somebody like Henderson into the team, giving him a start, because it has been, we've talked about it before in this show, and it's been talked about on other podcasts as well. That it's always nice to see these young guys getting a chance to come through, and I would hope somebody like Liam Henderson does get that chance. As you said, Dennis, give him 5 games, see how he goes. It'd be great if we could see him maybe starting or featuring heavily in the remaining games this season for somebody like himself, just to see how he copes with it as well. Not putting too much pressure on the boy as well, but he's getting used to playing in front of the big crowds and that kind of thing. TV cameras as well. All of these things all add into what makes or breaks a player. So I think I was impressed with what I saw of him. He looks solid. He's very young. He's only 17, isn't he?
17. He's 18 next month.
18 next month. So I mean, He has. He's got a real baby face on him, the wee guy as well. But he seems he's quite solid. I think I remember there was one challenge. There was I think it was another young kind of Kelly player, right enough. But the two of them were vying for the ball, and Henderson showed enough strength to kind of shepherd the ball out for a goal kick to ourselves. I think so. He's got a bit of strength about him. And I hope people don't get carried away with him and say he's the next Liam Miller or whatever, or he's the next this or that. Just let him go at his own pace, and hopefully he is. He's one of these guys that he's come through the ranks, and he'll feature in the future for us.
Well, you saw how happy Lennon was with him at the end of the game. Lennon, was. Obviously, we kind of got subbed off and stuff like that. He was right up to him and rubbing the head and giving him big hugs and that sort of stuff. And there was one bit in the game, I think it was in the second half, and I know I kind of keep piping back to this about Tom Rogic, is the whole thing about tracking back and doing that sort of gut running, which it's an EFL term, but doing gut running. And it was towards he was running, basically chasing the ball. 2 or 3 passes between Kelly players, and he chased. It was right down to the touchline with the camera side of the stadium. So and he kept hassling and pushed it, and that's my whole thing about Roger. I reckon I still reckon that's why he doesn't get a game, because he doesn't do that. He doesn't gut run and track back, and it's not all about tracking back, you know what I mean? But it's just this whole second effort. I mean, I keep using Australian Aussie rules terms, but it's that second effort. When you lose the ball, it depends on what you do to try and get the ball back. Whereas Rogic will just kind of amble back and he'll chase for a little bit, but that's it. But when you got a guy like Henderson who comes in, which is another great thing, and kind of when this whole record thing about going unbeaten, all that sort of stuff, when it ended, there was a part of me relieved about it, just so that you can get guys like him coming in, because you're then going to get guys who are really hungry to try and perform, and some guys might bottle it and whatever, but he came on and he was, he started the game obviously, but he really busted a gut in the second half, to try and, maybe to prove a point, I don't know, but I'd have no qualms, sticking him in for the rest of the season. But a 17-year-old boy, Jesus, you don't want to be burning these guys out, even this early stage.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I think,
sorry, Dennis.
As well as that, Kevin. Yeah. As well as that, he played in the tournament in Turkey, and I think he held his own with guys like Wesley Schneider at Galatasaray. In fact, I think he gave him a touch-up during the game, which for a 17-year-old kid to do that, it takes a bit of ball, And going back on to Pat's other point about Tom Rogic, I think all the good teams now, no one stands still. You really have to do that working back that you were talking about, Pat. And if you look at the team I'm watching a bit more at the moment when I'm up here, especially maybe Manchester City, not that I like them that much, but they work like dogs when they've not got the ball. It's very similar to the Barcelona thing, where as soon as they lose the ball, they've got about 3 guys around you all the time, and they still look as if they've got 12 men in the park.
It's hunting packs, isn't it? They hunt packs. It's just whenever they lose the ball, it's like there's 2 or 3 guys fighting for it. So, and the guys in Myrtle Beach are saying the same there, but they reckon James Forrest is guilty of not doing that, of not tracking back and not putting in second effort. And it's probably a fair call. I mean, to be fair, Forrest does do it, but it's maybe that whole, I guess, how hard you run. There's making an effort, and then there's really making an effort, if you know what I mean.
It's an interesting point, though, guys, because the hunting in packs, and I think you're right, Dennis. That the team for me that displays that the best is Barcelona. You can see it, but it's not in every player's makeup to be that type of player that when they've not got the ball, they'll work hard for it. But not every player that goes to Barca has been brought up as a Barca player. Somehow they're always able to ingrain it into their players, that when they're out there, that's the way you do play the game. So for us to have, it'd be great if guys had, that type of mentality. You can understand why Henderson would do it, because he's young, he's wanting to impress. You'll always get players that are a bit like that. God help us. Do you ever remember the guy George Cadetti's pal that signed for us, Amaral? He made one appearance, I think, and he must have joked his way into that team because he ran about like a headless chicken for 10 minutes, and I think they subbed him off after that 10 minutes. The guy was never a footballer, but my God, he came on the party, just ran about, chasing the ball basically. Now, I'm not saying that's what we need to do, but there's a way that you can coach your players to do this. But we've got some players will do it, some players don't do it, and it's something that needs to be looked at to be effective right across the entire team. You can't afford to have some of your players do it and others don't, or it's obviously not going to be as effective as your Barcelonas or your Man Cities, to use your other example there.
So just quickly on Henderson before we move off it, if you were looking at a player in the team, so again I'm talking a mature age kind of player, but somebody who's in the team at the moment or somebody who we've had recently that you could liken him to, so they're just going based on that second half, would you say he's more of a Scott Brown role? Would you say he's more of a Ledley? Is he, more of a Lambert? So what sort of role, what sort of player do you think he would be? Just on first impression.
Yeah, all of those guys, I think maybe more of a Paul Lambert type player.
So more of a defensive,
yeah.
I would honestly find it very difficult. I've honestly, I don't think I've seen enough of him yet, Pat, to form a view.
Oh, I'm just saying first impressions. It's just a bit of fun, I guess, more than anything. I'm not saying this is the sort of player he's going to turn into. I don't find it great
fun at all, Patrick. I think it's terrible. It's not very fun at all. I'm sweating here thinking who is he like. I don't think he's like anybody. I think he's like Liam Henderson.
Kev, we said once these podcasts stop being fun, we'd stop doing them. So we're calling it.
Do you actually enjoy this?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, staying up till like 2 a.m. to talk. Shaggy with you.
No. All joking aside, I honestly haven't. I haven't really compared them to anybody as yet because I honestly just don't feel I've seen enough of them. But I'd like to think he could be a Stilian Petrov type, for example.
Now then, box to box.
That's big. Yeah,
that's a big call, but that's the type of midfielders you want, really.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's
here's another one.
Goal scorer, but yeah.
Yeah. Can I throw in with will he keep Beram Kyle out the team tomorrow?
Good question. It's a tough one as well because Kyle, by all accounts, is pretty much back to full fitness now as well. And I know he came on and got his bit of a run out because he didn't have he wasn't deemed fully fit for that Kelly game, but they're bringing him back slowly. It's a tough one, Dennis. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I'd like to think the young boy, his head might go down a little bit if he doesn't get follow his first start up with a second start. But
well, possibly Kevin, but I think he'll keep his place tomorrow.
Oh, big call.
I think I agree with Dennis. I think it would be very unfair to put a performance in like that. I'm not saying it was spectacular, but he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
it's the whole same thing with Darnell Fisher, and the guy didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? So you feel sorry for guys like that. I mean, Henderson comes in and then all of a sudden, I don't know, for argument's sake, Kyle plays in the next game. I don't know. If they're going to do it the right way and they are going to, I guess, model the team around sort of youth and bringing players through, then you got to look at guys like Henderson. You got to look at guys like Johansson and these sort of guys that are actually in Beaton when he's back fit again. That's the players you start building your midfield around, and they've all shown glimpses of what they can do, and they've got really great potential. You reckon? Just again, it's all kind of first impressions, but Scott Brown's not going to be around for long, so you want somebody in that kind of a Paul Lambert role or even a Neil Lennon role. Is there anyone really kind of like that at the moment? I'm not really sure, but that if you can mould him into that sort of player, then fantastic. It's all the better for us. But we can't have 3 or 4 Tom Rogics pushing forward and nobody defending as well. So that's why you need somebody like a Beaton, and if Henderson is going to be that sort of player, they're going to try and mould into it. That's what you want. I'd be pretty disappointed if I were him. I'd be pretty disappointed if Kyle came in and took his spot, unless you're trying to do something I don't know. Everyone kind of thinks Kyle's time's gone. I don't know. Maybe the actual coaching staff sees the same, but it'd be very interesting to see.
I still like Kyle, and I would hope his time hasn't gone. I think the important thing with Henderson now, as we've said, he is only 17, and he's probably been high as a kite since, the whole week after making his full debut and all the rest of it. But it all depends. It'll be well managed off the park, I'm sure of it. You said yourself, Pat, the way that Lennon, he was doing all the right things when he subbed him and he had his arms around him, and he's made him feel good about himself and his performance. So I've got no doubts that the man management side of Lenny will be very good. So even if he has made a decision to give Kyle a bit of a chance to come back in, he'll have explained it all to Henderson, and he'll explain, there's plenty of time yet for you. You've had a wee taster of it, you'll get another taster of it. I just think, again, if Kyle is fit and raring to go, he could equally be saying to himself, why is this young upstart in here when I'm fit and raring to go? I've got as much right to play in the team when I'm fit as this young upstart, that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see who does get the nod for that other midfield space.
Well, see, that's fair call, Kev. But the bottom line is that Henderson's shown more in one game than Kyle has in probably the last 3 or 4. So that's again, you got to think of, as Dennis said, that the guys, the young boys, kind of, I guess his confidence level. He's done nothing wrong, as I said. He's been praised to the hilt. Like Adam Matthews coming out during the week and saying all these things, and then you drop him for the next game. I don't know, unless he's injured, and unless that was always the plan. Unless he's aware of that up front. We're going to play you this week, but we can't play you every week. You're only 17. But unless that's been pre-agreed pretty much, then you'd say, certainly drop him back in the team, especially with Beaton out. If again, it depends what sort of player they would try and mould him into, but if it's going to be that sort of, I guess a kind of semi-holding role that he was, he's good at, and essentially a Paul Lambert role. That's I guess I'm looking at. If that's what they're trying to mould him into, then give him a chance. You're playing the team. What's St Mirren? They're second or third bottom.
Second bottom.
They're second bottom, so they're not going to be, they're not going to be the best team ever comes up against. So I mean, if they were coming up, if it was a derby match, a Glasgow derby match, or it was a cup game,
against
then
Partick, against Partick,
against Partick, yeah, then you review it. But you're playing St Mirren, so you know what I mean. So there's no reason why he shouldn't be playing. It's at home. It's against the second bottom team. He played well in the last game. Yeah, let him roll.
Well, we'll see how it goes in. It'll be interesting to see if he does get the nod anyway. But no, it was a good point, Dennis. Now, before we move off the Kelly game, we can't move off it without talking about Mr. Wonder Goals himself this season, Chrissy Commons. Another hat-trick, guys, and another very good hat-trick as well. I had a look at the goals again earlier on this evening before the show, and he took them very, very well. Now, we've been joined on the show as well by our good regular up in Osaka, Japan, Mr. Liam Carrigan. G'day, Liam, how are you, mate?
G'day, boys, how we doing? Sorry I'm late.
Aye, so you should be. Have you been out? Liam, we've got Dennis Doherty on the show tonight. Dennis is former Clyde Bank man. He's been out in Oz for years, and he lives in Mandurah where I am as well, and I've been trying to get him onto this show for ages, but he's usually out with the missus on a Friday night, but he's stuck up in Karratha with work just now. So he's joined us on the show tonight as well, mate. So but yeah, Liam, I was just talking about Chrissy Commons there. I don't know, did you manage to catch the Kelly game at the weekend, or did you see the goals or anything?
I saw the goals and kind of brief highlights. The goals were well, what you've kind of come to expect for Commons now, pretty special. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's just he's far and away our best player this year, probably for the last couple of years. So, it's just that was outstanding. But as I said, it's what we kind of come to expect these days,
Mm-hmm. The thing I noticed again when I was looking at the goals, looking back at the goals as well, the first couple he had a hand in setting them up as well. But he took his first goal really, really well. I think there was Mulgrew made a bit of a run from the back, and he laid it out to wee Griffiths, who played a good ball outside the defender, but when Commons ran onto it, he didn't take a touch at all. He didn't give the keeper at all time to set himself. And you being an ex-keeper, Dennis, you'll know all about that, mate. And he poked it past him with the outside of his left boot. So I mean, quite a simple goal when you look at it, but a really, really classy finish as well from a midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys, Liam mentioned there that he's by far and away our best player this season. Now, a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, I would have maybe argued that Big Virgil was right up there for my player of the season vote. Probably because right after we signed him and I'd seen him for a couple of games, I'd called that he was going to be player of the season, and now it's not looking as if he is going to be. But I don't think he's that far behind. But even myself, I've got to admit, Chris Commons he's been really, really outstanding for us this season. And again, as an attacking midfielder, it takes something to score. What is it? 25 goals he's got this season now. I mean, that is some return for a midfielder.
Actually, Kev, I've got to take you to task, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the exact podcast, but I can remember us having a chat, and you said you wanted to sell Chris Commons.
Aye, I would have. At the time, I would have.
I think you said, look, I think we even spoke at the time, was how much would you sell him for? And you said, if you got 500 grand from him,
yeah,
you'd sell him. So you went from that to he's our best player. I love him.
No,
I've always said he's been the best player for us.
No,
fair
bollocks.
No. You wanted rid of him, so you can't just turn that way.
I'm not denying that. At that point in time, I did. If you recall, it was probably around the time where he'd put the weight on a bit. Remember, he did have a spell where his first season with us, he did really well, and then he had a bit of a barren spell, and he wasn't playing very well at all, and he wasn't even a first name in the team sheet type of player. Now at the time, I don't deny it. I think I do. I remember actually saying it. I would have got shot of him at the time, but he's certainly turned his game round, and he's been absolutely outstanding this season. And I'm always happy to eat my heart part, no matter who we're talking about. If it's a Celtic player, always happy to say I was wrong or whatever. But he has been superb this season, and his goals have been the number of goals he's scored and the quality of the goals he's scored. Given that he's not a striker as well, has been superb. It's still just, there's always this little niggly thing with me that it's a really massive purple patch he's going through though, and are we guaranteed to see it again next season? You know, it's one of these things. Guys like Larson, you knew what you were getting with him, you know, season in, season out. Guys like, again, I would mention Gary Hooper. You knew that guy was going to bag you 20 goals every season. You know, there was no question of it. Are we going to see what Chris Commons are we going to see next season? Is it going to maintain us? Is he going to, you know, still have a good season, or is he going to hit the pies and I'll be wanting to sell him for 100,000 again?
I reckon as long as he stays away from the Scotland team, we'll get a bit more of the same for the next year or two. But there's this whole thing about, well, there's obviously Lennon, supposedly Lennon saying, you know, you should play for your country and all that sort of stuff because you're playing well, and you know, go back and play for Scotland. But I reckon that's really helped him. You know, the fact that he can concentrate on.
I would agree.
On us, you know. So provided he stays away from Scotland, then I think, I'd be happy to see a bit more of the same for next year, because he's getting on a bit. It's not going to happen. He's not going to be able to play that consistent level for much longer. You know what I mean? So. But you know, there's this whole thing you said earlier about, you know, players learn your tricks and stuff like that. Well, Commons has been in the Scottish League for a fair while, but he still has those tricks, and he's still bamboozling defenders and midfielders. So credit to him. So let's hope it continues.
And I think, as Liam mentioned there, he's surely going to be a stick-on for the Players' Player of the Year and the Writers' Player of the Year as well, I would think now. Even though I was hoping it was going to be Big Virgil, but
I think
Big Man's been out too much.
Van Dijk's the only one that can compete with him, though. He's the only one that's been consistent and got the quality that you could give it to. I mean, who in the Scottish League? There's no one really sort of bagging big goal. I mean, even think of what Griffiths last year. You know, there's no one. Is there anyone like that in the Scottish League who's bagging, you know, all these goals? Doesn't ring a bell for me, you know what I mean? But
I don't watch any other team, but apart from the ones we play against.
Oh, come on, you're not getting up. Was it Hearts and Dundee United tomorrow morning? You're not getting up for that?
You kidding me on?
I'll watch it if I'm up. No, kids will have me up at 6:30 in the morning, but yeah.
You've always said you've got a soft spot for Dundee United, though. You do your Half the World Away Arab podcast sometimes, don't you?
Well, here's a trivia question for you then. Now, everyone calls Dundee United the Arabs, but what's their real nickname?
It's the Terrors.
Well done. Yes, well done. Give you that. Ding.
There you go.
Come on, Kevin.
Did you guys know that? Did you remember that?
I did, yes, evidently.
It's the Tangerine Terrors, to give them their full name.
Is it?
I think.
Are you on Google, Liam?
No.
So yes, very good.
Pat, why are they called the Arabs?
Sand in the park, wasn't it?
That's correct, eh?
Yeah. Because the park was so shite they put sand on it, so yes. I know more about Dundee United than I know about Celtic. This is disgraceful. All right, let's start up a new podcast then.
Oh, you can. Right, we'll move on, guys. We've talked enough, but Liam, we'll need to find out why were you so late onto the show tonight, mate. You need to explain yourself. Have you got your note for the teacher?
Let's just say I was entertaining.
Oh, young Liam likes romancing up in Osaka there, Dennis.
I hope you've had a shower, Liam. Have you had a shower? Yeah, this is disgusting, seriously.
He loves his entertaining. We were talking, Dennis came on and he was talking about he was swinging earlier on. You're talking about your entertaining. Honest to God. It's going downhill fast.
Okay, it's been going downhill since it started, let's face it. This is podcast number 1. Jesus. We'll get to the actual dregs then, we'll call it quits at that point. So anyway, moving on.
Now, Pat, you had mentioned before the show something else that we could maybe have a little chat about was Kerrydale Street, the famous Kerrydale Street, is possibly going to be renamed, or maybe it's definitely going to be renamed, Jockstein Way. Now, is this a certainty? Is this what's going to happen? I'm presuming this is all to do with the development work that's going around the grounds in the lead up to the Commonwealth Games. But so where's this little snippet coming from, Pat? Is this happening, mate, or is it a discussion point?
No, I think there's a sort of campaign to get the street renamed as part of the development around Celtic Park. So, so no, it was more just what we thought about it. I suppose I was curious, but I know this sounds a bit kind of ridiculous, but the forum I go to is Kerrydale Street, and I kind of want to keep it Kerrydale Street because of that reason.
Well, I would say that doesn't sound ridiculous at all. Maybe the link to the forum might be, but Kerrydale Street is Kerrydale Street is Kerrydale Street, and I wouldn't want to lose the name of that. And yes, I know the forum took the name as well, but and some people that are fans of the forum as well would maybe want it to stay, but I wouldn't want them renaming Kerrydale Street at all. It is what it is. What do you think of that, Dennis? Would you be happy to change the name of Kerrydale Street? Is Dennis still with us?
I think he was.
No, he's gone.
He's Gonski, yes.
Oh well, if you're listening, Dennis, try to call us back in, mate. Liam, what do you think? Kerrydale Street, or do we change it?
I really don't have a strong opinion either way, to be honest. I think to be fair, we've already got the Jockstein stand. We've got the statue of him outside the stadium. All right, he is the greatest manager in our history, probably the greatest single individual who's contributed to Celtic in history. But we've already given him plenty of honours. Is this not going to be a bit over the top?
That's kind of
Maybe.
my thoughts as well, Liam. That's exactly my thoughts. It's
fair call.
I don't know. It's just I guess I was just curious, but I mean, there's probably going to be a bit of this going around with obviously all the redevelopment going on, and some of the little pictures I haven't seen any in sort of the past week or so, but some of them are really. It just looks as if it's coming along really nicely. The primary school's kind of gone and all that sort of stuff. So, and I don't know. It's just I think there's just going to be a bit more of that in the future. Which is kind of good in a way, but I think the jock scene, the great man, maybe there's other names and stuff like that you could associate with sort of streets and I guess focal points around Celtic Park, and but no, I guess I was just curious what you guys thought about it.
Yeah, no, but it's funny because you said it sounds a bit silly, but I think I think we're all agreeing on here that we all love and respect Jock Stein, but there's something about the name Kerrydale Street as well that's special and it's part of Celtic's history. So why find the need to have to rename it as part of this Commonwealth Games thing? No, I'm happy with Kerrydale Street. Thank you very much. So anyway, that was a little quickie anyway, but we could move on now. Something else, Pat, you had a little idea about this, mate, and I think we maybe come on to it. This is about the talking about our generation, as the Who once had a song. They didn't say it like that, they said talking about our generation, I believe.
Is that not what I said? Talking about our generation? Anyway, no, what it was
generation. That was it.
Just what we've kind of looked for is a kind of more of a long-running kind of little segment in the show. I think we tried to do. We spoke about it when we first set this thing up. We never actually ever did anything. We tried to do it with youth players and get people on, Tony Cassidy and Joe McHugh, these sort of guys. And nothing really happened. But this was just one that I thought about 2 or 3 podcasts ago. And what we're sort of looking at is talking about your generation, where we go through players that we remember for different positions. So I'll tell you what sort of sparked my memory. That gave me the idea, I suppose. Kev was in Australia. They do this whole thing about team of the century. So each team, the older sort of AFL clubs, the original teams, they have the team of the century. So they basically the fans vote for, based on certain positions and all that sort of stuff, and you get inducted to what they call the Hall of Fame and all that sort of thing. And I just thought to myself, well, if we did a similar sort of thing, but we can't really go back and talk about guys from the 1920s and stuff like that, because we don't really know who they are. But I thought if we spoke about players from our generation, and then just get through each position. So although Liam, I didn't send the list through to Liam because I didn't think he was coming on tonight, because he was, in inverted commas, entertaining. So I sent it to Kev, and no, it's just some of the names. Like, we're just looking through. So goalkeepers was obviously the obvious place to start. So, and I just sort of laughed at some of the names. Like, I was like, actually, I need to go and double check this. So I'll just read out some of the names, and you can sort of cash your mind.
Well, Liam will remember these as well. I know Liam's a bit younger than us, but Liam will remember a good few of these as well, I'm sure.
Right, I'll just name some of the ones. These are just some
right,
of the
on you go.
Sort of from my sort of year when I started going to the games, would have been, oh god, it would have been 10, so probably late, it would have been early 80s, it would have been, so sort of 81, 82 I think was my first game, so then when I first started going, it was kind of a mixture between Pat Bonner and Peter Latchford. Those were the 2 goalkeepers.
That's right.
They were playing, and I can just still remember Peter Latchford just being huge, and in the sort of horizontal way, as opposed to but so Pat Bonner with Peter Latchford, Alan. These are just names randomly picked. So Alan McKnight, Ian Andrews. Remember Ian Andrews as well?
Oh, I remember Ian Andrews. Absolutely, he was never the greatest.
Sheffield United or Sheffield Wednesday or something, was it? He came from? Can't quite remember.
He was a kind of Liam Brady time era signing, I think. It was either Liam Brady or a Luigi McCarry.
Could have been Luigi. No, I'm not sure about that one. So Ian Andrews.
Luigi brought in Carl Muggleton, sure.
He did, and I listened. Martin mentioned he was on the Celtic Underground podcast. I had to listen to that.
That's right.
He was actually really good. He was actually really good. So if you get a chance to listen to it, sort of tune in. So I quite liked it. And this might sound really a bit bizarre, but see with just the name he's got, Muggleton, is this perception that he'd just be stupid? Like really dumb, like muggled. Do you not think so?
Yeah.
But
As
he
in a
wasn't.
mug.
Yeah, as in he's a mug. That's really bad. But he wasn't. He spoke very well. So, yeah, it was like some of the guy was around a fair bit. I think he quite clearly really enjoyed playing football. I don't think he really cared who he'd have played for. That's just kind of the impression I got from the guy. But and he was on the list a bit further down, so I'll skip him. But so it was like Ian Andrews, Gordon Marshall, obviously. Then the one that got away, Kev, Shay Given.
Shay Given. That was bloody Luigi Macari. Get rid of him as well.
Yeah,
He said he would never bloody do. He'd never make it. He was too small.
Too small, that's right.
Too small.
And he turned out to
Shay
be one of
Given. Honest to God.
So yeah, I mean, can you imagine if he'd have stuck around as well? When
He still loves his hoops as well, Mr. Given.
He does. There's a name coming up. I don't actually know if this actually did happen, but I'm sort of trying to check in it just now. But one particular player that's on this list, and I'm sort of still trying to do it. But so anyway, Stuart Kerr. Again, he's
Definitely.
one of the great sort of hopes and stuff like that as well. That'd have been
More of a
reserve.
More of a reserve type keeper, Stuart Kerr.
Was he really? He came in and played a fair bit though. Didn't
He did, but he was always more of a reserve type keeper. He did a little stint for us, but he was never going to be the big keeper for us. That's for sure.
There was about an 18-month window, I seem to remember, between Pat Bonner leaving and Jonathan Gould coming in, where Stuart Kerr, I think it was about maybe 9 months to 18 months where he was the number one keeper, if I remember correctly.
That's frightening.
Yeah, I think he actually played a fair bit. Yeah, and I've got a feeling they've been around the Tommy Burns kind of era, so I don't know. But
Bonner retired after the cup final '95, didn't he?
That's right. He came in for that game, didn't he? Didn't he? He played because wasn't he? He was because he was going to leave to go to Kilmarnock to join Tommy Burns, and then Burns got the job at Celtic Park and he kept him. That's when I think was that not when Muggleton. He was obviously around the club at that point. And I think when that's what it was in the interview. It was like Muggleton came, Tommy Burns came in, and pretty much said, he was going to. They'd accepted an offer from Stoke for him, and it was pretty much along the lines of so Pat Bonner became from being chucked out the door to go to Kilmarnock to being the number one keeper again, just because Tommy Burns came back. But yes, so he's anyway, enough about Cal Muggleton. That's enough of him. So got Jonathan Gould as well. So he obviously during that sort of period, Dimitri Karin. Remember him?
Yes, I do. He was a Russian international keeper as well, was he not, Karin?
Yeah, he came in. He was only
for
in for a season or so, wasn't he? Was it only
he
a
wasn't
season?
in for long, and he didn't really get much a chance, I don't think. Karin.
He was a John Barnes signing, was he not?
Was he a Barnes?
I think he was.
I'm not sure this segment's going that well. We should really do a research.
I'll get a bit more. Smith. He had Henry Smith here.
Yeah. Yes. Aye. So we got Rob Douglas. Obviously we know enough about him. Marcus Headman. Didn't he have a really hot wife? A hot girlfriend?
He did, aye. That's as much as you know about him.
He was a black belt in Taekwondo as well, apparently.
He didn't set the heather on fire with us either, did he?
He didn't.
He was heralded as a great signing, but he never really done it for us.
And one that, again, it's another one of those, I guess we missed the opportunity, potentially, David Marshall.
Aye.
Yes, well, it'll be forever known for those games against Barca when he was saving everything left, right and centre, and John Kennedy was defending everything left, right and centre at the new camp.
I'll never forget. We watched that. There was only one place in Melbourne had the game live. It was the Celtic Club and the Celtic, the CBD. So both supporter clubs were there, and it was. I remember walking out with the great Falenzo, Stevie Fallon's.
Oh yes, good old Falenzo.
Our mutual friend from Sonny Stirling, walking out of that game, just going, "How on earth did we just get away with that?" It was a slaughter.
It was an incredible game.
It was unbelievable. It was Anyway, so moving on. Today. This is the one that got me, Kev. This is an absolute stonker that I didn't even know this occurred, and it looks as if it actually did happen. Danny Milosevic. Now, if there's anybody listening going, "Nah, he's making that up," I have checked it on Wikipedia, Danny Milosevic is an Australian goalkeeper, believe it or not. He born in Melbourne in 1978. But anyway, in Wikipedia, it's got.
Must be true if it's in Wikipedia.
It must be true, yeah. So he's moved on to Leeds United after playing for a year for Perth Glory, and then basically he eventually was released by Leeds United and was signed up on a pay-as-you-play contract by Celtic. He left the club without playing after citing personal problems. Danny never returned to Glasgow.
Played. So you've got him down here as a keeper, and he never actually.
He was in the squad. He was in the squad.
Was in the squad, but he never played.
He never played a game. So there you go. So Celtic's other Australian player, and there's actually a little link to Aussie roles for Celtic from 2010. So it was actually on the Celtic website. The link's actually disappeared, but anyway. So there you go, Danny Milosevic from Australia, from Melbourne, believe it or not.
There you go.
And then we've got a couple of our classic ones. So Arthur Boric.
The holy goalie.
Yeah, which again
still love him. Still love him.
Yeah, so it's that whole debate of who was the best at the peak, Boric or Foster. So we'll have that for another night. That's going to take us well into the early hours, I reckon, that one. Mark Brown. Oh, Jesus.
Big ears.
Yeah, that was a bit of a disaster, that one, wasn't it?
Ex-Hun.
Yeah.
He did alright. He was reasonable, Mark Brown. He was reasonable. That's all he was, though.
Inverness, and yeah, anyway. Was it Ross County? He ended up going to Ross County at one stage as well, didn't he? So, yeah, anyway. And then Lucas Zaluska and Fraser Forster. So those are just some of the goalkeepers.
I've got a soft spot for Zaluska because he's been there for donkeys and he's never really had much of a chance. He's always been the kind of permanent reserve keeper.
I feel kind of. Don't you feel sorry for him though? Don't you?
I do. I absolutely do. But again, every time you see him, I think he just loves being at Celtic.
But don't you think it's one of these things where he's like show a bit of ambition, boy, and go and.
Well, there's that aspect as well, but you do need a decent reserve keeper as well, and I think Zaluska is not bad. I was always very impressed. See when we signed him from Dundee United, I was pretty happy because I was impressed with him at Dundee United. He was a very good keeper, and he's done reasonably well for us when he's been called upon. And so as a reserve, I think he's good, but I think he's good to have round about the club as well because he always seems to be, when you see these little snippets of training and stuff, he's always there or thereabouts, or you get a shot that cuts to the dugout and he's having a laugh with somebody. Or, he seems to be quite good for the morale of the team.
So he's kind of the Terry McDermott then?
He's the Terry McDermott, the boot room boy. He's on about $5,000 a week for being a comedian.
For making the
team. An entertainer. No, but I like him. I like Lucas. He's good. And big Fraser Forster, of course. Yep. Now, Pat, you've ran through a whole load of names there, but there's one name that I haven't heard you mention there. And he played in a very significant game.
Oh, I know.
Do you know who I'm getting at?
I've read the tweet as well, it's alright.
Oh, wait a minute, I haven't seen a tweet. Wait a minute.
It's going to be one of the people.
It was the 5-1 game where wee Lubo scored a couple of goals. Oh, yes. The Lion Awake 67 shed. Oh, in fact, I forgot about Sanchez Broto as well.
I didn't look. Let me point out, I'm not saying these were all the keepers. These were just some names we sort of picked up and ran through.
You've done half a job, Pat. Half a job you've done.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll do left back next, and then you can go through and find other players, Kev. All right. Excellent. Good stuff.
Piece of piss, mate.
Yeah. I rattled that group up in about 10 minutes tonight. So. So the 5-2 game. So tell people for those who forget.
It was Tony Warner. Tony Warner was the keeper. He did have a little bit of a run for us. We got him on loan, I think.
We did.
From Liverpool.
From Liverpool, that's right, Liam. And
he ended up going to Aberdeen after that.
That's right. That is right.
Well. Yep.
But he did okay for us, Tony Warner. He did okay. But the other one that the Lion Awake 67 shed on Twitter has said was Javier Sanchez Broto. And again, he was another keeper that I believe was signed from, was it Livingston at the time?
It was.
I think it was, yeah.
And he actually did, again, not a massively tall goalkeeper or anything, but he was a pretty decent bloody keeper.
Well, he came on against the Huns as a sub. I can't remember which game it was. So I can't remember who he came off for. I mean, I know it was it sort of Boric era? I can't remember who he was. But he came on as a sub. No, he got sent off. Did Boric get sent off? That's what it was.
Was it not? It was before Arthur was in, was it not?
Was it after? I can't remember what year it was. But
sure it was, man.
It was Ibrox keeper get sent off, and then he came on as a sub, and that was his first game. He came in for like half a dozen games. I think he was signed to the end of the season, and then didn't he ask for more money? He wanted more money, and Celtic basically punted him and said, "Right, off you go. It's been nice knowing you." That's what my lasting memory of it. That he was one of these Ramon Vega kind of scenarios where he just wanted too much money. Yep.
It's a pity because it was pretty good, but no, that's it's funny just reminiscing about the names that you rattled through with the old goalkeepers. So I don't know, where do you want to go with this, Pat? Do we want to say who's our favourite, or what do we do here?
You can do. I mean, I guess it's one of those. I guess we just have to pick a name, I suppose, but. For me, it would be coming down to the big debate of at the peak who was going to be the better one, and again, don't go into detail, but whether it was going to be Boric or going to be Foster.
Well, if that was a team, all those names you read out there, if that was a football team, who would be your keeper in that team? I know who my striker would be.
We're not at striker yet, Kev.
No, but the striker of goalkeepers is what I was talking about. But bizarrely,
you've just made up a new term. You've just made up the. Let me just Google that. Striker of goalkeepers, right? Okay. Striker of goalkeepers is somebody who hits a goalkeeper. That's what that means.
Remember Arthur's penalty against Dundee United in the, what was it, Scottish Cup semi-final, maybe something like that a few years ago. When it went to penalty kicks and it was ridiculous. It was just level all the way, and it went down to the keepers. And Arthur pinged an absolute belter into the top right-hand corner.
Lucas Zaluska.
Surely not, was it?
Fairly certain it was, yes.
How ironic. But no, you could be right. But so that's why Arthur would be my favourite striker goalkeeper in that team. But bizarrely enough, he would also be my favourite keeper out of that whole list you read out there. He's still my favourite. I really like what Big Fraser's done for us, and he's a cracking big keeper. But the whole package for me, I've said this before anyway, Big Arthur's still my favourite. Who's your favourite through that whole list that get read out there then, Liam? Your favourite keeper for one reason or another?
Don't say Tony Warner.
Although, actually, Tony Warner's quite significant because that game happened on my birthday, actually. The 5-1 game.
There you go.
But I think overall, just purely because I've got great memories of us stopping the 10 in a row, I'd have to say Jonathan Gould.
What? Interesting.
Because that season, I just remember the euphoria of stopping 10 in a row, and I remember he was a big part of that team.
He was.
And I was about maybe 14 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lucky enough to actually meet him a couple of times when I went to see Celtic training and stuff, and he was really nice, always really good with the fans, and I've always liked the guy. So
there you go. Fair play. See, Liam's quite entitled to that opinion, Pat. Now, what's your opinion? You're going to, it's down to the Arthur and Fraser thing for you, isn't it?
It's Danny Milosevic because he's from Melbourne. Yeah, I don't know. I reckon just for the fact that he had a bit of character and let's face it, he really liked to stick up the Huns. But Arthur, the whole running across Ibrox with the champions flag,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's lasting memories. I think that was, I don't know, probably that one. I reckon
he had character, he had charisma. He stuck it right up the Huns several times.
Yeah, what else do you ask for?
He had some great, things like his penalty save against Spartak Moscow, his penalty save against Man United in the Champions League as well. There were just, I think, bigger, more important moments as well. Whereas Foster's been a great keeper consistently. He's been playing behind a superb defence as well, admittedly. So he's done really well, the big man, and he's done some great he's had some great games and played some fantastic performances in the Champions League for us. But yeah, as I say, Big Arthur's he's got more of a he's just a bigger personality, I think, Arthur as well. And
I think with
he's always going to have a soft spot for the hoops, I think, as well, a big man.
I think with Boruc though that his bad games were noticeably bad. You don't really see that with Foster. I think Foster's more consistent in what he's been doing. Whereas Boruc, I just think a game against Hibs at Easter Road just springs to mind where I think he gave away 2 goals pretty much. Didn't he? He sclaffed the ball at one stage and Hibs scored their first goal or something like that. So yeah, but it's just this part. It's just the lovable rogue, I guess, is the way you look at it. It's just one of these guys. It was one of your. It's just a fan. It was like a fan playing the game. You know what I mean? Loved Lydia Warsaw and stuff like that. Loved us.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember he used to go back to their games and he'd be in amongst the fans and stuff like that. Be up singing their songs and all the rest of it. So I was all good. Dennis has texted me in there. So he's had technical difficulties up in Karratha. And if you check where this place is out on a map, for all you that don't know it, you'll understand why he's having technical difficulties. Albeit, it's got good infrastructure up there because it's lots of heavy industry, mining and onshore, offshore, bloody nonsense up there in Karratha. So their infrastructure is usually pretty good. But anyway,
you might want to try and spell that for people. Karratha as well.
Karratha, that's Karratha. Dennis, are you back with us?
Just back, Kevin.
Oh, he's just back. He's just made it. What happened, mate? What went wrong?
It just dropped out, and once it did, I had a couple of wee chores I had to do, so I've done them.
Kev, he had to restart his he had to restart his 56k modem. You know, I had to dial back in again.
That'll have been it. That'll have been it.
Hey, Sancho's Broto. I just pulled up stuff on Sanchez Broto, right? He played for Airdrie as well.
That'd be right enough.
Played for Airdrie, then for Livingston, and then he played for Games. Sorry, Airdrieonians. Let me correct, not Airdrie United. And then he played for Celtic for 8 games in 2003.
8
and then he
decent
buggered
games.
off to play in Spain. So yeah.
Well, boys, you're actually in the company of an ex goalkeeper here, Mr. Denis Doherty. Dennis, who was it you played for? Enlighten the boys here.
All right, I played a few reserve games for Dumbarton, and let me think about this now. About 19, probably the early 80s, 81, 82. Other guys I played with were the one who was the biggest character without a doubt was Albert Craig. Albert's only interest at half time was what was the Celtic score.
Tremendous.
And really used to give it tight to all the Huns that were in the dressing room. I actually played along with a guy, I think I spoke to Kevin about this, who used to give me an awful hard time. I was only about 19 at the time, so Frank Close. Don't know if that's any relation, because he came from your neck of the woods, Pat.
He just happens to be my brother,
Frank
Dennis.
Close.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yes, my brother, yeah.
There you go. Is it definitely the same Frank Close?
Yes, my brother played with Dumbarton for a few years, so yes. Played for
So
Airdrie and then
he
went
played
to
the
Dumbarton.
first team.
Yes. Yeah. So he was.
Frank used to give me a hell of a time at the back there. Frank could moan even more than me.
He hasn't changed. He's still the same.
No.
I was chatting to him earlier. He lives in Houston now, and he's back in Aberdeen. So, which is a little segue,
right.
Kev. A little segue back to Aberdeen.
Back to Aberdeen.
So yeah, my brothers have lived and worked in Aberdeen for many, many years. So, but we, I don't know if you guys have caught, but I guess one of the things I was going to ask was Aberdeen, now that they're doing so well, and so, you know, is it a revival of the Aberdeen way? But are they now our biggest rivals? But I don't want to talk about my brother all night on this a Celtic podcast because yeah, that could get incredibly boring. But so I was just wondering, the Aberdeen, that's just a good segue. But what do you reckon, boys? Just then quickly, do you think are they our biggest contenders now for the next few years, or is it just a flash in the pan? Is it a 1 year thing, and then they'll be back to their old ways? What do you reckon?
Who you asking?
I personally think.
Yeah. Anyway,
my own viewpoint, Pat, is that as long as they keep the manager they've got at the moment, I think they'll do pretty well. He's got quite a mature squad, if you want to call it that. A lot of the guys are probably getting into their late 20s, a few maybe in their early 30s. So I think the next challenge for them is to bring guys through and actually be able to keep players, because over the last probably 4 or 5 years they've had some really good young players and they've all gone down to kind of Championship and League One teams in England. I mean, you remember the young guy everybody was raving about a couple of years ago? Is it Fraser, young winger?
Yeah.
Does anybody remember that one? Ryan Fraser. I mean, yeah. I've virtually not heard of him since he went down to England.
I'm sure it was Bournemouth.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was actually, he was on Sports Sound during the week. I think he was actually saying that the budget he has at Aberdeen isn't that much different from what he had at St Johnstone. I think it's more the fact that he's got it's been easier to persuade players to go to Aberdeen because it's a bigger club than go to St Johnstone. But he said in terms of the football department, they don't have their own training park and all that sort of stuff. And I reckon you're right. I agree. Like, you get guys like Barry. For all he did great for us, but Barry Robson's not going to be around for that much longer. You know what I mean? So. Willie Flood, is he going to be your central midfield anchor man? Oh, I'm not sure about that.
These are guys, Pat, that are good. They've got a good blend of youth and experience at Aberdeen right now, and a good manager, and that's probably something that they've been craving or crying out for years, because they've been. Let's face it, they've been down in the doldrums for donkey's years, really, and it's only now that they're coming back and putting in some kind of sustained, consistent performances, I suppose, which is, I'm happy to see it. I quite like having a strong Aberdeen. I'd much prefer if we had put them out of the Scottish Cup, right enough. But I think it's good. I think it's good for the Scottish League. Hearts kind of came and went for a while. Motherwell were always there or thereabouts in recent years as well, which I just found bizarre, because it was just, for me, similar age to yourself, obviously, Pat, growing up through the 80s, your Aberdeen and Dundee United were the big kind of teams as well, that you were always wary of coming up against them. But then the two of them just fell away for quite a long time, and it's good to see the two of them coming back to kind of former, being strong again. I don't know, is that just some kind of sentimental thing I've got about the 80s or something, when I always remember I didn't even really think about the former Rangers then as well, because they were so bloody awful. It was always Aberdeen and Dundee United you were kind of worried about playing.
Yep.
The old Sheffield games or the Rangers games took care of themselves in those days.
Yep.
So no, for me, I'm quite pleased. I would really hope that come next season they can build on what they've done this season, and it's not just a flash in the pan, and it's not just a one season wonder and they drop back again. I'd like to see them up there, and I'd like to see them giving us a little bit of a run for our money. I still think we'll be far too strong for them, but I'm happy to see Aberdeen back.
See, what got me thinking about it was the whole. I mean, it was actually an article I saw about the Hibs fans selling out their tickets at Tynecastle, for a relegation party, which kind of makes you laugh a little bit. But then it kind of dawns on you that you take Tynecastle out of it. There's obviously no Ibrox, asbestos dome. That's disappeared for at least another year or two. So. You take away Tynecastle as well. So where does it leave? Where does it leave Celtic fans? That sort of big day out. You take away Ibrox, take away Tynecastle. There's 4 big games a year that you can sort of go away and enjoy, and you know, you're only left with sort of with Pittodrie then, aren't you? That's going to be the biggest kind of away day for Celtic fans for, you know, potentially a few years. You know, there's no guarantee that Sevco are going to get back up there. There's no guarantee. I mean, if Hearts, there's talk of them being liquidated. If that's the case, the players will just go elsewhere. You know what I mean? It's if that's the case, you know, what are you going to be left with? You're going to be left with, you know, who's your competitors? It's going to be Aberdeen probably, Dundee United second, maybe second, third of them. You know, after Aberdeen, then as you said, Motherwell, and then maybe you'll get the odd team that comes up for a year or two and does all right, you know, but they're never really going to contest for any sort of league. But they'll, you know, I was going to say Hibs, but they've got a half-decent manager now. But you know, I mean, that's the sort of thing that might happen. You might get Hibs come up and do all right for a year, but they'll just slide down the table as well.
They blow hot and cold too much, Hibs, as well, don't they?
Yeah,
they do. I mean, I guess it's like cycles with them. They'll have a year or two and they've actually got not a bad team, and then they'll, you know, again slide down the bottom. But there's no really any, what's in terms of big clubs. I mean, obviously Dunfermline are well out of it. You know, Dundee, if they come up, you know, Falkirk. But again, it's not really big away days. You know what I mean? So the Myrtle Beach are saying Ross County. You know, is that the big day? But Christ, yeah. But you know what I mean?
It's a big day. It's a big day out in terms of travelling away for the game, because I used to love going up to Pittodrie for the games, because it did feel as if you were travelling away to a game. You know, if it's the travelling wasn't really much round about the Central Belt over there. You know, half an hour, 40 minutes, you could be at most of the games round about the Central Belt. So, right. And even about an hour up to Perth or over to Dundee or something like that from the Central Belt. Whereas Aberdeen was the game that you felt you were actually travelling away to. So I can, the Boy Deeps, I think, are spot on with the Ross County. I was never ever up at Dingwall for a game, but I'm sure that would have been a good outing. I was never at Inverness for a game either. I missed out on those away trips. But I'm sure those ones you do, you feel you're definitely going away, and the fans must have a rare tear when they go on those ones. I'm sure they do. But something I'm going to pick up on, guys, because you mentioned it earlier there, Pat, that you know, it's a stick on that Hearts are going to be relegated, so they're going to get down into what is now called the Championship, but effectively Division 1. We've then got the new team that have clinched the League 2 title, or whatever it is, or maybe is it League 1, Division 2, whatever it is anyway. And so they're going to be in the Championship as well next season. So we're going to have a Heart of Midlothian Sevco head-to-head in that particular league. Now, I think this is quite a nice little sideshow for us to be entertained with next season. And Liam, I was going to come to you first on this as well, because a lot of Sevconians think it's just a matter of time, and it's a stroll in the park for their team to get back into the SPL. But they're they are going to be coming up against Hearts next season. Is it going to be a walk in the park for them, like they seem to be thinking? Or are Hearts going to are they going to upset the apple cart a little bit next season?
Well, it's interesting actually. Just as a wee aside before I answer that, I had an interesting debate with a Sevconian the other day. I was going on about how, you know, it's a new club and it's, you know, there's no the same Huns, and I used the word Huns, right? Because to me, their fans are still the Huns, right? It's not the team, but they're still Huns, right?
They're still Huns, correct.
Right.
Nothing's changed there.
And this bugger sends me a message and he says, "Oh, so do you think it's acceptable? Would you teach your students to use words like Hun?" And I simply replied, "Look, mate, I'm an English teacher. I'm not qualified to teach history."
But the Huns were
anyhow. I think the main here is that because of the predicament the Huns are in, that, you know, with their new club, it's going to be a really interesting league. I think Hearts could beat them. I really do.
Yeah.
Because Hearts are going to have fresh investment, because they're going to get a CVA, and that's the big difference. Getting a CVA not only does it clear your debt in an honourable way, and it preserves your history, it also ensures that actually doing business going forward is a lot easier because it doesn't leave that massive black spot. I mean, obviously you don't get credit as easily as before, but it's not like Huns now where like nobody will even look at them for credit, you know?
Yeah.
So Hearts could be in a position where, and I believe the Hearts fans will buy into it because actually, for all I don't like the Jambo, I'm going to say the way their fans have behaved since this whole thing kicked off has been an example of how the Huns should have behaved.
Yes.
They've looked after all the wee companies that got screwed over. They've made sure that, they've come out and apologised. They have said, sorry, we spent money we didn't have and now we're paying for it. They've actually admitted that they were wrong and are not trying to threaten and blame everybody else in Scottish football for their own problems,
Yes.
And I think that they will get fresh investment. They'll also get a lot more sympathy than the Huns would ever get. So I think you could have a lot of neutrals wanting to see Hearts get back up.
Well, I'll tell you something, this neutral will be shouting them to get back up against the Sevconians, that's for sure, next season.
And I think that could really carry them through. I could honestly see Hearts doing it because they've got a greater groundswell of support behind them than that. Because, let's face it, the Hearts are basically motivated by hatred.
Yes.
And they don't have a Celtic hate just now because we are light years ahead of them.
Yeah.
And that is what riles them the most. I think that the amount of Huns that I argue with on Twitter and Facebook, I think that's what really riles them, is the fact that they are such an irrelevance to us now. And they can't handle it. It's like, you need us, and it's like, no, we don't. We don't. Boys, you are not the people. You never were. It's your own bloody mindset. No. And that's the other thing, and I'll get back to what you said a minute ago about Aberdeen. The big difference, the reason why I think Aberdeen will continue to challenge us next year, and other teams will as well, is because you don't have the Huns pillaging the best teams every season like you did before. Think about, like the Hearts team in '98, which ran us and the Huns close for the league. The next year, the Huns signed Neil McCann, McLaren, Anthony Emmy.
Yeah.
No, sorry, no Anthony Emmy. He went to Hearts later. But anyway, they signed like 2 or 3 of their best players. Who was it? Was it Ricky, the fullback as well? Anyway, and then later on, Dundee come good. Huns go out and sign Kanita, Adamchuk. They signed Dundee's best players. Again, Hearts again come up, and the Huns went out and signed 3 or 4 of their players, and they're not in a position to do that anymore. So, and the thing is, because of the sort of ingrained arrogance that the English have towards the SPL, it's unlikely any big English club would come in for Aberdeen's players. So, I think you could genuinely they could genuinely have a unit of players who will play together for 4 or 5 years. It is very possible. And that's what you need to actually be in a position to challenge. You need sustainability. You need long-term development. And now, because they're not having their squad raped every season by the Huns, they can actually do that. Them, Dundee United, even possibly Hibs, if Terry Butcher can get his act together, which I think he might, because I think he is a good manager. There's every chance that we could have 3 or 4 teams actually presenting a challenge to us in a few years.
It'd be good if it happens, Liam. It's a good point you made there, actually, though, about that. There are teams. There's. I mean, some could argue that possibly Celtic could maybe be doing a similar thing or try to do a similar thing. I don't personally think we have done it much. I think we have been guilty of stealing the odd player in the past, but certainly not to the extent you've described there that the old Sevco did. But
the difference with Celtic is we always signed players that we thought could do a job for us in the first team.
Yes,
the Huns signed players so that they couldn't hurt them.
That's right. And I would think as well the type of players that we need to be looking at as well would be those kind of players, and I've said it on here plenty of times before as well. To me, your good SPL players aren't quite good enough for Celtic because they've got to be able to perform and step up to that Champions League kind of level. That's why I was always hemming and hawing about the whole Lee Griffiths thing. Now, Lee Griffiths, he's only in the door, and I've been quite impressed with the wee man. So again, we'll see how he pans out. But I've always said that I've got a question mark about his ability to be able to step up and do it at Champions League level. Only time will tell. But let's hope he does do it. But it's the points on the Hearts and Sevco stuff for the title next season, Dennis. I'll ask you, I guess, the same question that I put to Liam there. That it is going to be quite, I guess, entertaining from us looking at those battles from the top of the mountain, I suppose, looking down on them there. How do you see next season panning out in that division, though, in terms of, well, who's going to win it, basically?
Yep. I think there's a few, given I believe teams in it, counts off of teams. Like some of the other teams down there will also take points off. But I think the one thing that Hearts are going to have in their favour is they've blooded a lot of young players who normally wouldn't have got a look in at this point. And a good hard season in the SPL, where the boys have taken a few hard beatings.
Yep.
It sounds a crazy thing to say, but it'll stand them in good stead for next season when they go down there.
I would agree.
I think they'll certainly give the Sevconians a run for their money. The biggest thing, in my opinion, I've not seen them at all, but I've watched snippets of goals in games, is the amount of players that have been sent off against them, and the amount of penalties they've had, and the amount of absolutely outrageous decisions that they've had in League 2 now, or League 1, sorry. When you need that kind of assistance in League 1, I mean, with something like a 300 times benefit on all the other teams put together, I mean, where is the game in Scotland at? You really, if it continues into next season, I think people will start walking away from the game. I feel quite strongly about that, about the whole corruption thing. I don't know if he's already spoken about this, but the goal they got against Albion Rovers at Ibrox was absolutely outrageous. I mean, it's a kind of goal. If you look on the old, well, the last time you seen a goal like that awarded, it was on Path News. It was in black and white. Do you remember the days? Do you remember when they used to just jump on a goalkeeper and bundle him into the net?
Kev would remember those days because he's that old. So yeah. But seriously, it was an absolutely incredibly bad decision, and it's one of the ones where the referees, no doubt about it, he's heading back to the centre of the ground, and I think that's going to be a big challenge for a lot of the teams. But a lot will depend on, I believe, what happens in the next 3 or 4 months over that, as you call it, the asbestos dome. How much money they can get in, and are they going to start to balance their books? Because we all talk about what they've done through in my opinion, through some of the 80s, all through the 90s and into the 2000s. They're still doing it. What they're doing now is no different. It's financial doping. They don't have the money. They don't have the money to get through a season without getting dodgy loans from guys. In February? What's going to happen in March? What's going to happen in April? You know what I mean? They're still financial doping. I mean, you've got McCoist already on. I want to sign this guy. I want to sign that guy.
Yeah,
they couldn't even pay their wages in February. Do you know what I mean? No. So are the clubs? What you've got to say is the clubs that were in League 2, the clubs that are in League 1, they all stay quiet because they get the big carrot of them coming to their ground twice a year. They make more out of those 2 games than they would make in a whole season.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I think so many of them stay quiet. I mean, the only guy who's really turned it up was Turnbull Hutton.
Yes,
what did he get for turning it up? He got death threats and people threatening to burn down the stadium and all kinds of things like that. And that's what they're like, you know.
You better watch your mouth now, Dennis, or you're going to be getting targeted, boy. You never know who could be listening.
When I start
You never
talking
know.
about
You
them,
never.
you know.
Oh, I know it does, mate. I know it does. That's why I enjoy your banter and Murphy's of a Thursday night. No, right. So Dennis,
I think that's going to be one of the biggest threats.
So who's going to? But to put you on the spot, then who is going to win the the championship? I should say. Who's going to win it? Hearts or Sevco or somebody else next season?
I think Sevco will win it.
Oh yeah,
I think they'll win it
because of their cheatingness.
I think while the president of the SFA is still there, they'll always be in their chance. Always been my chance.
Right, Pat, let's come to you on
that's
this.
That's another subject altogether.
That is another subject. That's for the next podcast, Dennis. What about, Pat, in terms of this little sideshow that could be going on, I'm honestly quite looking forward to it because I'll be honest, I haven't paid attention to much more in Scottish football at all, but I see this as being quite a nice little entertaining sideshow for us next year as we go on to 4 in a row in our own division, and then we can have a wee look at what's going on in that league. How do you see it panning out?
Well, I think you guys are talking even about Hearts going down, and assuming that the Hearts that goes down is going to be the same Hearts that challenges, the Huns whenever they Sevco when they get there. But I'm not quite as confident as what Liam was saying about the fact that they're going to get a CVA. I'm not totally sold on that one. I wouldn't think, but I think it depends on if they do get that CVA. I think it's all actually might even be decided this week from memory. Again, don't quote me on that, but I think it might be. It's in Lithuania, obviously, but they'll find out pretty much this week if the club can get liquidated or not. So assuming if they get any sort of bad news, then the team that they'll be fielding next year will be teenagers. And any decent player they have at the moment, I'm talking the senior guys, won't be there. They'll be off-ski, to another club or retiring or whatever. But if they can keep the team together, Hearts at the moment are better. Maybe not better. They're certainly an equal of what the Rangers players have now. You have to keep in mind the players that Rangers actually have. We can kind of laugh at them and point them and tell them.
You're using that R word. You're using that R word again.
Sorry, Sevco. It's force of habit. Sorry. I should. I put a little disclaimer on it. In liquidation. So they. So the players that they've got are, certainly mid-table Premier League standard. It's just whether they can actually get their finger out and perform that way. So I'm not convinced that it's going to be. Look, it's not going to be as easy, obviously, as the league they're in at the moment. But again, you look at the competition that they have. Dundee are going to go up, I think. So you got who's next? I'll just go through it. Right. So you get Dundee, Hamilton, Falkirk, Queen of the South, Dumbarton, Livingston, Wraith, Alloa. Really, are these teams that are going to challenge?
Alloa will smash them home and away.
Cowdenbeath, Morton looks like they're going to go down. But you know what I mean? So are these teams that are going to compete with Sevco? Hamilton, maybe they've done pretty good in the league this year. Falkirk, in fact, they're playing Wraith in the Harry Ramsden Cup or something, aren't they? So they're playing in that company. And Wraith are like fourth bottom at the moment. So they're not exactly firing all cylinders. But Hearts coming down, if it's the same Hearts that are going to be competing next year that they have at the moment, the same, roughly the same squad, then you'd fancy Hearts to go up. Certainly be competing between the two of them anyway. But if the Hearts that goes down, it just gets absolutely raped because all the players have left and they end up playing youngsters, then I don't see there's anyone to compete with them. You know what I mean?
It'd be a different proposition entirely then. But I guess you're right. I think we're talking about the same Hearts going down because they've got, if they do manage to hold the team together and they don't get liquidated, I think albeit they've been getting smashed a lot in the Premier League this season as well. A lot of the times they've still got that exposure to a better quality of football than the Sevconians have had in the division they're playing in. So I still think that counts for a lot. I know it's always hard when a team goes down. It's always difficult for them to come back up. But I think just it'll add a little bit of spice to that division, having those two teams in there.
Yep. I mean, assuming Hearts have the same players, that it's an amazing incentive for them, and I guess more of a challenge to make sure that Rangers don't go up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they would be busting a gut. So in a way, you want them to keep the same players and maintain. They've got a couple of sort of half decent young players as well. Sam something, I can't remember. I think it's a left winger. Can't think of his surname, but I'm sure it's Sam something. So they've got guys like that coming through as well. And they've got a few seasoned campaigners. Their goalkeeper's not too bad. It was the guy Danny Wilson as well, which I know people were slagging him off, but I don't know, the bits I've seen, I don't think doesn't look that bad to me. So you got guys, if they can keep those sort of more experienced guys together, it's going to be very, very hard for the Sevco Rangers getting up there. So it will be interesting times, and it's maybe one of those ones when you're sitting in a Saturday night or Sunday night and there's a game on, you get Setanta, Kev, and you're sitting watching it, and all of a sudden it's Rangers versus Hearts versus Rangers. All of a sudden, that's got a bit of an interest. You know what I mean? Rather than
it's a game I would watch. Yeah, it's a game I would watch. Whereas just now, I don't watch anything bar in the Scottish football. I don't watch anything bar Celtic just now.
But yeah, I mean, it'd certainly be interesting. But
what about they've also got the very aptly named Billy King.
Aye, the Jambos. That's right.
Aye.
Sheffield they'll try to sign him. He could be the worst player in the world, but Sheffield would try to sign him anyway, just so they can put him on the team sheet.
They'll change his name by deed poll, Kevin.
What, just to reverse it?
Just in reverse.
Aye. That's right. Well, guys, listen, I'm going to start trying to wrap this up because. Well, as usual, we had nothing to talk about. We said right back at the start of the show, it's been a slow news. There's absolutely nothing to talk about. We've been going about 2 hours or thereabouts. But before we do, we've got a game against St Mirren tomorrow night, Aussie time. It's at Celtic Park, 3 o'clock kickoff against the Mirrens of Saints. We'll just very quickly go around you all and get your thoughts on the game and a little score prediction. I'll come at you first, Liam. How do you think it's going to go tomorrow? What's the score?
3-1
was that?
3-0.
3-0. Who's going to score the goals? Is this St Mirren? 3-0 to St Mirren?
3-0 to Celtic.
Who's getting the goals?
I'll say Griffiths will get 2 and Commons will get 1.
Fair enough, okay. Chalk that one down in your line and then put another line through it, because Liam's never been right yet in one of these things.
Hey, hold on a minute. I got the scoring. Who was it we beat 4-0 recently? I got that one right.
Oh, once. You got it right once.
It'd have been that team we beat 4-1. Dennis, what about yourself? What's your prediction on the game? We talked earlier on about will Liam Henderson start or not, but what do you see happening tomorrow?
I'm going for a 5-0, Kevin. I think St Mirren are pretty poor. Good start last weekend, but blew out in the end by Dundee United. So I fancy 5-0, and I fancy Commons, Griffiths, and I'm going to stick my neck out here and think maybe even Scott Brown will score.
Oh. And who's getting the other two?
I think Griffiths will probably get a couple. I agree with Liam there. I think it's the kind of game that he might come up, and I think Stokes will probably pull one out as well.
5-0 sounds good.
5-0. I'll put a wee quick word in for John McGinn. I've got a wee soft spot for John.
Yes.
If anybody for St Mirren scores, I hope it's him, because he's at the moment he's closely connected with the family back in Scotland.
Mm-hmm. That's all good. So we'll allow John McGinn a goal, but as long as it's 5-1, then he'll do nicely.
Yeah.
What about your own thoughts, Patrick? Score line?
Yeah, along the same lines as other guys. I'm not even convinced that Mirren will score. I would probably have said 4-0 at the start as well, but I'm going to take a punt and say that Johansson will get a goal.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
there you
worth.
go.
You know how you like your little fiver bets, Pat?
$5, Kev, not
Probably.
£5. Yeah.
Aye, that's
That's
probably
like, you
one
know,
for you because you'll get a decent price for him tomorrow.
So I'll go for Johansson. Griffiths will get on the score sheet. Yeah, probably Stokes as well. So, but yeah, my smoky is Johansson. So
You're
we'll
smoky.
go for smoky. So we'll go
Fair
for
play.
4-0.
Okay, I hope you're all right ahead of me because I'm just going to go for a little 2-0 boys tomorrow. 2-0. Goals shall be Chris Collins.
You are totally breaking up, Kev. We can't hear you. Can anybody else hear him?
Yeah. Yeah, he was just breaking up. But...
Yep.
I couldn't hear him either.
So
No,
Kev
yeah.
predicted that St Mirren would win 2-0.
I think that's incorrect.
And 4 players of Celtic would get sent off. So thanks for that, Kev. He's just sent me a message. That's a disgrace, by the way, that you actually.
That's always a
predicted
chance.
that. Are you backing? Oh, you're backing in, Kev. Yeah, okay. No worries.
I hope so. Right, we're going to try to wrap it up now, guys. And I know I've got a couple of little things I need to mention at the end here as well. But Liam, I'll come to you first. Any little shout-outs or anything you'd like to say? How's that Osaka CSC coming along?
Nothing really going. Bit of personal news. I'm moving house next week, so that'll be interesting. But I'm just moving the corner, so I
Do you need a hand? Do you need a hand shifting anything?
If anybody in Osaka's willing to help me move my tail, he's a shout. It'd be much appreciated.
Hey, Kev, if you go into Facebook, you'll see he's actually posted pictures of his lovely wee flat. You know, his little
Alright,
boudoir.
good.
His little boudoir, so you can go and have a look.
Where he can do his entertaining.
He's entertaining.
Very
You're a
Yeah.
rascal, Liam, a rascal. I'll go onto Facebook later and see your pics, mate.
It's a really nice wee place. It's just in the corner from where I am now. Actually, I've really got lucky with it. It's a good.
Excellent. Anything else, Liam? Any other shout-outs? Or...
Nah, nothing really comes to mind.
No worries, no worries. Dennis, what about yourself, mate?
I was going to just
any hellos or whatever?
Yeah. Not so much hellos. I was actually going to run something past Pat. It was going back to the playing days, and there was a little guy started to come along to training in those days, Pat. He was about 14, and I thought to myself, who's this guy? He's a little stick insect, and he was really only along there because his brothers were at the club at the time, and I thought, this guy will never do anything, but such a good judge of a player as that. Was actually Owen Coyle. 14-year-old Owen Coyle, and went on to do very well. I think he started at Dumbarton and ended up managing the Premiership. So he's
did well at Airdrie as well.
He's done pretty well. Yeah,
Future Celtic manager, maybe.
You never know. He could be.
Who knows?
So you're
it has been mentioned. I hope not, but
you're obviously a great judge of a player, then, Dennis.
Judge of a player, absolutely.
That's why you're a goalkeeper.
Yeah. Aye, well.
Boys, I must admit though,
retired.
Dennis. Yeah, but boys, I tell you, Dennis played a bit of they do this 5-a-side competition in Mandara, and the Mandara CSC had a little 5-a-side team in the comp, and Dennis came along to help the boys out one night, and I just happened to go down and watch them, cheer them on, because they're playing in the hoops, obviously. And he's still a cat, boys. Dennis is still a cat. He was saving everything left, right, and centre. Unbelievable.
Never lose it, Dennis, eh? Never lose it.
Oh, he was exceptional. He's very modest, though, but I'm telling you right now, the man's exceptional.
I'm much better than Murphy's, Kevin.
Oh, you're very good in there. You're very good in there. Right, anything else, Dennis? You want to give any shout-outs to anybody that might be listening or listen back later on and hear your dulcet tones?
Yeah, just a quick hello to any Banky boys that are on.
Is that it?
Yeah, if there's anybody from over there, just say hello. Maybe see you in the summertime.
Fair play. Fair play.
When Fergus comes to unroll the flag.
That's all good. That's all good. Now, Pat, I'll come to you last because I'm going to forget this unless I say it now. But I'm going to say, well, as usual, hello to everybody in the Mandara CSC. So that's yourself included this time, Dennis, of course. Unfortunately, again, the St Mirren game tomorrow night is not on Setanta, so it's yet another game that we don't get a chance to catch up down at Friar Tuck's. It's pretty disappointing, so we'll just have to be watching it. I know you'll be watching it on Celtic TV, Dennis. I'll try to find a dodgy stream somewhere, but it's been pretty disappointing that our meetings for the Mandara CSC have been few and far between, but we're hopefully going to be trying to address that for either tail end of this season or next season. We've got a few little ideas coming to us, but I'll talk about that another time, I suppose. So hello to everybody in the Mandara CSC. Hello to everybody in the Erngobra CSC back in Coatbrigg. But I'd also like to mention there's a little boxing friend of mine, goes by the name of Anto Irish Boy Conley. It's his first professional fight tomorrow night in Perth, up in Perth. Anto is a 3 times amateur Irish champion at a fairly light level, let's say. I don't know exactly what weight Anto boxes at, but he's not the biggest of guys, but he certainly looks as if he could pack a punch, that's for sure. But anyway, Anto's been putting the word out. It's his first fight up at the Kingsway Stadium up in Joondalup, I believe it is, tomorrow night. If there's anybody in the kind of Perth area that's got a little soft spot for the boxing or really enjoys the boxing, Anto is Celtic daft. He's coming out in a pair of green and white hooped shorts. He's coming out to the Irish Brigade playing the Lonesome Boatman. And yeah, if anybody's seen any of the posts that I've put on the Mandara CSC, I think Anto's joined that group as well as the Perth CSC. He's just trying to get a message out to all boxing fans, all Irish fans, all Celtic fans to try and come along to the Kingsway Stadium tomorrow night to see his professional debut. He's first up on the bill. The doors open at 6 o'clock. Anto should be on round about 6:30, and he's fairly confident that he's going to get his first win under his belt as well. So anyway, I was chatting to him the other night. He's a great guy. I've picked up a couple of tickets for me and one of the boys that are going to go up and see him. There's going to be quite a few hooped shirts in the crowd cheering on Anto as well. So if there is anybody listening and there's anybody that's going to be at a loose end tomorrow before the Celtic game, as I said, he will be on at 6:30. He says he intends to get the job done very early. He'll try and catch the Celtic game later on as well. There's plenty of time because it's an 11 o'clock kick-off for the Celtic game over here. So please do. You can drop us a tweet if you want to get in touch. Anto's selling the tickets himself. I won't give out his number on here, but if you want to get in touch via the Half the World Away on Twitter, or myself at KJP O'Neill 72, you can drop us a little tweet and I'll put you in touch, or I'll give you the number to try and get tickets for that. It should be a great night. There's about 5 or 6 different fights on. And yeah, if anybody's got they like the boxing or they've got a soft spot for it, or you just want a decent night out to support a Celtic daft boxer, then the Kingsway Stadium, Perth, is the place to be tomorrow night. So hopefully, if you're listening to this just now, Anto, and you're listening back later on, I've done you justice there. I've not made an arse of it. But that's probably the shout-outs that I wanted to say tonight. We might actually get Anto on one of these nights as well. We'll see how he goes tomorrow night, and we'll hopefully get Anto on. I think he'd be good value on the show one of these weeks. Anyway, Pat, enough from me. What about yourself, mate?
First one I need to mention is a guy, Danny McCafferty, who's a listener to the show, so he was sending me emails about the group, the Druids, who may or may not be doing some stuff up at the Gold Coast. When we're all sort of having a few jars up there in June, Kev. So I don't know if you saw my message about a week or so ago. It was 88 days. So it's almost, we're getting closer, Kev, almost there.
Not far off. It's not far
for
off.
the huddle down under. So again, anyone who's interested in who might be coming to Australia, passing through, who's in the country, just backpacking, doing whatever, then Gold Coast on June 6th to the June 8th.
Yep.
Is the goal. We basically tagged it the huddle down under. So anybody who wants to go into Facebook, just go in there and do a search for Gold Coast Celtic. There's no point giving the Twitter thing out because I never actually post anything. But I tried to catch up with Chris today to get a bit of an update, but I didn't get a chance to. I was just too busy at work, and I think he was too busy at work. So I'll try and catch up with him before the next podcast that we do. So anyway, so thanks to Danny for sending that stuff through. I said I'd give him a bit of a mention. Thanks to Toby Jug in the chat room, and thanks to the Myrtle Beach Bobbags. Sorry about that, boys.
The body.
And just Craig for tweeting some stuff as well. Again, I can't even think of who else. Yeah, so I guess
the Line Awake 67 Shed on Twitter as well. Was kind enough to tweet in a few times tonight as well, which was good.
Yeah, and there's also a guy from Melbourne, a guy called Ross Hamilton, who wrote an article for our good friend Craig at seltzerhere.com. So Craig's posted out a tweet with the article that Ross had actually written. So just Craig got in touch saying, do I know anybody who would know some stuff about how Rogic's going and stuff like that? Obviously, any sort of Melbourne Victory fan. So I'd known sort of Ross through Twitter. I've never met the guy, but seems like a really nice guy. Really loves Celtic. Really loves Melbourne Victory. So he seemed like the obvious candidate. So he did an article. So I'll tweet that out once this show is over and done with. So fair dues to them.
It'll be the Tommy Rogic summary. It'll be he looks alright on the ball, but he doesn't track back.
No, that's my summary. Nobody else's. Actually, I'm going to tweet it out right now. So there you go. Craig's little thing there. So I'll post that right now. That's been retweeted. And I guess the final one is a bit of a thank you. I'm going to I'll just fill you in a little story, Kev, that I've got an uncle back in Scotland. So again, take half a step back. When I was a young lad, my father died when I was pretty young. So I had no one to sort of guide me on the way and stuff like that. And believe it or not, I was actually an Airdrie supporter. I supported Airdrie for quite a couple of years because my brother played for them. So I used to go to Airdrie games, and then I saw the light. So my uncle Thomas, who's anybody who happens to be in Airdrie, or if there's any chance of anybody in a little village outside Airdrie called Plains is listening. So my uncle is Tommy Riley, and he's kind of relatively well known in the area. So I am going to get this latest podcast, Kev. I'm going to stick it on a DVD, and I'm going to send it with a wee Celtic polo shirt that we got made up. We got one of the samples made up for the Huddle Down Under. Nice. And I had one spare, and I thought, who better to have it was my Uncle Thomas, who used to come and get me and take me to games with my cousin Brendan. We have lots and lots of funny stories and things.
Thank God he did. Thank God he did, or you'd be doing a half the world away Airdrie podcast.
Airdrie podcast, yeah. Jesus, who would have thought? Christ. So anyway, so he was very, very good to me. I cannot thank the guy enough. So Uncle Thomas, if you are listening to this, I hope you're proud of me, old fella. So and I'm actually doing something. So so yeah, I'll package this up. I'll send it out to him, and just want to say a big hello to him. So again, normal supporters club stuff. So Jockstein Celtic Supporters Club in Melbourne. Anyone who's interested or passed through Melbourne, we're not showing pretty much any games at the moment because they're all like 2 or 3 in the morning. So it's just a little bit too hard at the moment to be showing games. So when the clocks change, then it'll be a bit easier for us. So so again, just search online Jockstein CSC Melbourne. We're on Twitter at JSCSC Melbourne. You can find us there. So I think I've got everybody. So I've done the guys on the message board. So I think that's about it. All I can think of, Kev. So
good,
I guess the last thing we have to decide is when we play out, Kev, should we imagine? Should we imagine or not?
Oh, you might as well, Pat. As long as it's the right version.
As long as it's the right version. So we'll play out a wee song. So just before we do it, I guess maybe Kev will obviously sign us out and stuff like that. But we'll just take a second to imagine that the best thing did happen and they did go away. So that's all. I'll leave it with you. But it's by a group called, that some of you might know, so I haven't been around, haven't heard many new stuff for a while, but called Doon the Gallowgate. And they did some cracking songs, some just really funny. So there'll be a few renditions of some of their songs when we do the stuff up at the Gold Coast, because I think their stuff's fantastic. So I can't remember the guy's name who is kind of the main, I guess, composer of all the stuff from Doon the Gallowgate, but anybody who hasn't heard them, even just go into YouTube and search for some of their stuff, but some of it's just class. So we'll play out with a wee one that we thought was quite amusing, but it has been, how can I put it, it's been adapted.
It's been edited
at the start.
But it's been edited to be non-sectarian.
So there's a wee bit at the start that was a bit controversial that the guys made me take out. But I thought it was quite funny, but they made me take it out. So we'll play that. Absolutely. When we sign out tonight.
No, that's all good, Pat. Well, if you've got it all lined up, I think it only remains to be said. Thanks a lot for your contribution in the chat tonight, guys, and hail, hail.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Hooroo. Cheers, guys.
Imagine there's no it's easy if you try. No manky huns, no Ibrox, no ugly cunts with evil eyes. Imagine all those bastards fuck off somewhere else. So your legless chairman thought he had a cue. He brought like Wayne to Ibrox, but it all fell through. You silly fucking bastards, believe in all the hype. I could say you were dreamers, but yous are lower than a shade. I hope someday you'll fuck off and the world will be alright. So Paula Gwynn has left you as you fight for second place. There's 3 words to describe you: a fucking pure disgrace. Imagine all you bastards fuck off somewhere else. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I just can't stand the Huns. I hope someday you fuck off and the world